Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology. This is a space where we seek to create and cultivate healthy conversations between those things we geek out on and the philosophical and theological questions that often arise out of our fandoms. Like, what does it mean to be human? What makes a hero? What makes a villain? How do the stories and narratives we geek out on shape how we live in the world? We are your priest to the geeks. We aren't all ordained, but we see ourselves as mediators at the intersection of geek culture and going deeper in our faith. We don't always have to agree, but we do respect each other, and we see everyone as a beloved child of God. Everyone geeks out on something, so come geek out with us and enjoy the show.
This show is a proud member of the Anazal Podcast Network.
Does Phase 1 of the MCU hold up today? Can superheroes play nice with each other? We are going to talk about all of this and more in tonight's episode of Systematic Geekology. We are the Priest of the Geeks, and we are here for another episode of Countdown to Doomsday, where we're talking about all of the MCU movies and the Fox X-Men movies leading up to Avengers Doomsday at the end of this year. I am one of your hosts, Kevin Schaefer, and I am here thrilled to talk with Evan Garcia. Evan, how are you today?
Doing good. It's been a good Sunday now as we are recording, and I'm looking forward to this because I've got some fun memories for some of these movies, and it's crazy. It's been over 10 years for this.
Dude, it's just... Yeah. It's wild. Like, I mean, looking at, like, that's why I wanted to do this series. It's just, like, look at everything retrospectively. And yes, some of these I've seen a million times, but others, it's been quite a while. And it's really fun looking at, you know, oh, what did I think of it back then? How does it hold up now? It's just been really fun. And I'm excited to have you on this one because, like, so far, the other episodes in the series, we did, me and Christian did, and Andy, the first one on the first Fox X-Men trilogy. And then me and Christian did the beginning of the MCU. Now we're on to Thor. We're on to the first Captain America and the Avengers. So got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm very excited. And before we get started, I want to thank you all for being here. Want to thank you all for whether you're watching on YouTube right now or you're listening to this later. Thank you for being here. If you are new to Systematic Geekology, welcome. We really appreciate you. As always, like any podcast will tell you, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends about us. And it really helps the show. And if you want to learn about ways to support us more and learn more about the show, you can click on the link in the description and find out ways to support us, find out ways to connect with us on social media. And you also get a shout out on the show if you are one of our supporters. And I would like to shout out today, Russell Gentry. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
for
Russell.
Your support of the show. Absolutely. We really appreciate it. And to all of our supporters, all of our listeners, we could not do this without you. So really appreciate it. Well, Evan, before we get into the main topic tonight, let's get into a quick lightning round where we talk about what we've been geeking out on lately. So I will, very much in line with tonight's episode, watch the premiere of Daredevil Born Again Season 2 the other day. Really enjoyed it. I think the new season's off to a great start. And, I know you and I have talked about the show in the past and, the Netflix Marvel shows. So I'm really liking the season of Born Again at the start. I think it's pushing Matt in a really interesting direction. I love that, spoiler alert, but I love that Matt and Karen are back together. I really love their dynamic and their chemistry. So I'm very happy there. And I also think that in comparison with the previous season, we talked about this a lot last year, but with season 1, it was kind of a mixed bag very much in terms of creative directions, because they did an overhaul, a full creative overhaul about midway through production, where, originally the show was conceived as separate from the Netflix continuity. Then they decided to pivot and bring back all the canon there, bring back Karen and Foggy and Bullseye and everything. And so that very much changed the trajectory of the show. And I thought, as best they could, they handled it well. But now, because all of that baggage is kind of in the past, we have a more cohesive, consistent vision going forward. And yeah, really enjoyed the first episode. I also checked out the Born Again podcast that's on Disney Plus. You can watch and stick with the show. It was really good. Yeah. Fun fact there is that they actually revealed that the reason Born Again happened is because of Spider-Man No Way Home, because of Matt Murdock's cameo in that movie. Brad Winderbaum said when that happened, it was like, we have got to make Daredevil, we got to bring Daredevil back now. There's no choice.
That reminds me, I have a meme that I was going to post to our socials. So if you guys want to look out for one of those silly memes that I put out, check Threads, check Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. So yes, for mine, I've also done the Daredevil season 1 of Born Again season 2 or episode 1, and it was one of those things where I came in with high expectations and it didn't meet it, so I gave it the second chance, and I love it. It's great. It's a great start to a new season that, like you said, is not hindered with a past or some kind of baggage. You know, they are generally going through a storyline that they have planned out. It seems like it. And my favorite thing to watch that I can't wait to see how this develops is Fisk and his relationship to Shaggy, to what's his face?
Matthew Lillard.
Yes. That dynamic is going to be insanity. Yes. I think we're going to see some crazy stuff between those two guys, and I'm excited for that. And I want to throw in, I finally caught One Piece, and me and my wife, we binged both seasons, and it's so good. It's so good.
And you ever watched the anime, or you're just watching the live action?
Came in cold turkey, but we plan on starting to watch the anime. Yep.
Gotcha.
With our son, cool. He wants to watch it too, so I think we're going to do that.
I know it's very popular. I do want to check it out at some point. I know with fans of the anime, they have there's mixed reception in terms of the live action.
Many episodes.
But yes, Oof. Yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely. But awesome, Evan. Well, excellent, great picks, and yeah, we will definitely be talking about Born Again on the show in the near future. So if you're a fan, stick around. But all right, well, let's get into it. So, as we've been doing with this series, we're kind of taking we're tackling 3 movies an episode, because with the amount of movies we have to cover, that we're going to be hopefully trying to get to all of them before the release of Doomsday at the end of the year. But, I kind of, mapped out a schedule, and I figured 3 movies at a time is a good way to dissect. So the way we're doing this is we're, looking at each movie. We're talking about, what we thought of at the time of its release. We're looking at it retrospectively, and how it compares with the rest of the MCU. So, Evan, let's get to our first movie in this segment, and that is the first Thor film from 2011, directed by Kenneth Branagh, of course, starring Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Anthony Hopkins, and Natalie Portman. So I'll give just a little bit of intro about this movie. So this is obviously another origin film in the MCU. Thor had never made any kind of real big screen appearance. You'd seen him in some in animation, but even then, he was a more obscure Marvel character. For the mainstream audiences. He was a dig. Like if you brought him up, it was a real nerd cred. Right, absolutely. Yeah. And in the comics, he had iconic runs from Walter Simonson, but yeah, absolutely. He was not a pop culture mainstay at this point of his intro. Very similar to Captain America and Iron Man. That's the thing I think we forget in 2026 is that these characters were not always staples of mainstream culture like they are today. So this movie, it covers the origin. It shows Thor as a more cocky, arrogant, character trying to regain his honor after going to war without Odin's approval and then getting banished to Earth, and he has to redeem himself in order to pick up his hammer Mjolnir again. And then, of course, we get the intro to Thor and Loki, and that relationship and how it, lays a lot of groundwork for the rest of the MCU. Evan, before I share my thoughts, can you tell a little bit about your background? Well, first off, because this is your first time on this series, my question is, were you watching all of the MCU movies from the beginning, or, you kind of came on later? What was kind of your background?
Yeah, for sure. I started it, and with the one that I like to include is the Ang Lee Hulk. I will go to the mat for that film. It's a great film. But yeah, me and my dad, we watched all these Marvel movies, the X-Men, Blade, and the Spider-Man films, and we walked out of Spider-Man 3, but that's a whole nother story. So yes, and I was very much into the film scene back then, and I knew when there was a new concept art dropping, and I remember being so stoked for this kind of stuff. And I was like, man, when they had the tease for Thor, what film was he teased in? With
Iron Man 2 in the post-credit
Iron Man
scene.
2,
So
I remember.
They have Mjolnir in the desert.
Yeah,
yep.
and Agent Coulson finds it and stuff like that. Yeah. So I was just like, wait a minute. I think I know what they're doing here. Like, they are really doing this. So they are really going for it. And I was so stoked because this character is my dad's favorite character. Like, he's his favorite superhero character, period. So I was like, all right, cool, Dad. And so I didn't get to see this movie when it first came out because we were moving and I was finishing college, and I got married the year before and blah, 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 blah. So I kind of forgot about the film, and then I caught it with my dad at a dollar theater, and I freaking loved it. It was worth it. And I thought Hemsworth was the perfect guy for it, but his eyebrows weren't. His eyebrows were not perfect for it. Natalie Portman, coming from the Star Wars world, and the director Kevin Branagh. I remember that being a huge deal. Like, dang, he's a top tier director. Like, what is he doing with the superhero genre? Like, so I remember that. And then Tom Hiddleston comes out of nowhere with his performance, and he's instantly everybody's favorite. And so, yeah, I've got some fond memories of this. I've seen it only once more since then, and I don't remember it too much, and I kind of don't want to spoil it for myself. So, yeah.
I'm glad you were able to say some positive things. See, that is really cool because I always love hearing what people's favorite superhero favorite comic book character is, and like especially when it's something unique. It's like, I mean, you hear so many people. I'm one of the Batman is my favorite, and all the obvious ones. I love when you hear someone. It's like, yeah, Thor is my favorite comic book character, or like Ant-Man or something like that. So that's really cool to see. So I imagine that made an impact. So I'm glad you were able to say some nice things here, but because I do have some negative ones to say about this.
Sure.
But actually, let me look at it. So from thinking back to 2011, because I said it on the last episode that I have seen every MCU movie in theaters. I talked about in the episode we did on Iron Man. Like, I remember, even though I wasn't as familiar with that character, other than some passing familiarity with the cartoons and whatnot, I was still really excited about it from day one because I was in middle school. I was at the mall mall with a friend, and like we were looking at the concept art for the first Iron Man. So
Yeah.
I was very, and like that was really cool. And then that movie was great. Still one of my all-time favorites. And then this like 2011 was interesting because there were a lot of summer blockbusters that year, ups and downs, but I was going to all of them. So it was like this, it was Green Lantern, Super 8, which is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
then, yep. And then Captain America, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So there were a lot of blockbusters back to back. And this was when I was starting to like blog and, really talk about movies and everything. And so, I mean, I think at that time, I thought this one was perfectly fun. I mean, I liked, the character overall. And, it was a fun summer of big blockbusters. And, the amount of superhero movies coming out, like that was when it was exciting. There was no superhero fatigue because it was just like, wow, they're making movies about Thor and Green Lantern. Like, what are,
they're all
what's
good.
coming next? Like that.
Well,
and I was going to say, like,
Green Lantern.
I mean,
Yeah.
Right. But like for the most part, I mean, hey, the fact that like, they're making these at all, I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pretty into it.
And they're putting the money behind it. Like they have
yes.
Hopkins and like I said, Kenneth Branagh. So it's like, dang, they are really going for it.
Very much going for it, and like and I mean Hemsworth and Hiddleston, which fun fact is that Hiddleston originally auditioned for Thor, but like you can't you can't see him as anyone else but Loki, but like it was great casting around there, so I enjoyed it at the time. This is one where, again, this is about watching these movies retrospectively, looking at it now. Yeah, because I am doing a rewatch of each one as we're doing this series, and trying to do, and so, and it was interesting because like doing the Iron Man 2 and Incredible Hulk episode, it was fun because like Iron Man, still love it, but like Iron Man 2 and Hulk both surprised me in terms of like, they always got bad reps. Like I particularly actually really enjoyed Incredible Hulk on a rewatch. And Iron Man 2 is still quite entertaining. It has its flaws, but it's entertaining. I have to say, looking at these movies objectively, retrospectively, I think this is the first flop in the MCU in terms of quality.
Whoa,
in terms of like, I mean, So like,
you said the F word.
I did.
Yeah.
I said, like, I mean, and I don't mean it in the, like, it was obviously not, box office or anything like that, but in terms of a quality of a movie, this one was a struggle to get through on a rewatch.
Sure,
like, I mean, I think, so I think for one, I mean, a lot of, because again, casting, I mean, it's great. It's really fun to see the first time Hemsworth and Hiddleston were in these roles. Like, none of that is a flaw. And I think, I mean, you bring up Kenneth Branagh. I think it was a good director choice because he had the Shakespearean background doing Hamlet and all that, and like exactly, and like I mean that you think all of that would make sense. I think the biggest issues with this movie were the script is incredibly lackluster. It pretty much just bounces around. There's right. It's like if you're light, but it's ultimately it's like okay, it kind of just runs through the beats of like does a little bit of the origin, then it does like I said, it goes to the Frost Giants, then it gets banished to Earth, and the Earth scenes are some of the most boring stuff I've seen in there. Even thinking, I mean, I will come back to this statement later on because but I like right now, this is going to rank as like one of the more bottom tier boring MCU entries because because for that thing on a rewatch, I was just like really just struggling to get through most of it because I'm like, they're in the desert for half the time. They're in this small town. There are some funny quips between with Thor's interactions with Natalie Portman and Captain Inks and Stellan Skarsgård. Right. There are some fun moments there, but ultimately that was it. But even more frustrating was it was Asgard. Yep, as Dr. Eric Selvig. But what's even more frustrating is the Asgard aesthetic here is extremely underdeveloped. It's really bad CG.
Sure.
It's like, you're talking about like the money they put behind these movies. And, I think at the time there was decent, but even then, when you compare this one with some entries we will get in this episode, I think there's a very like early 2000s video game feel to this movie where it just doesn't click for me. It's like, and the other thing too, is, in terms of Asgard and like some of the other characters there. So like he has his like, his three sidekicks there in the movie, and with them it's like, okay, they each kind of have like a one new thing, but when I think about like this, and then later on we get to Black Panther and how well that world is established with Wakanda and all the supporting characters are clearly defined, there's none of that here, where it's like the supporting characters.
I remember them. They were super hyped up in like the promos and stuff like that, but then they didn't do anything. I remember being excited for the guy from Once Upon a Time. He played one of them.
Oh yeah. So the casting's not bad, but it's just like,
I'm curious.
They're also one note.
I don't want to spoil something from a future episode, but how do you rank this one versus the second Thor film?
And that's a good question. So, like, I'll go ahead and say I think the Thor franchise as a whole is one where they really struggled. I think Thor as a character, they did well pretty much in the earlier Avengers movies. And again, casting was always great, but as a character, and this is something I'll evaluate again more as we go along in the series, but they really struggled with them. Comparing this one to Thor 2, Thor 2 is not a good movie at all either. But and I think but I would have to say it's at least a little more entertaining, whether it's like, I mean, from what I'll have to reassess that once we get to it. But I like, from what it's bad, don't get me wrong, but like I think with that one, at least, like, some of the visuals were a little more entertaining. I liked that it was like more on Asgard, and they did a slightly better job with like while it's still a mess of a script and everything, that was the biggest thing with here. Asgard looks really bad. The Earth stuff is boring. It just never really got going. There was never really any stakes. Like, as far as like a movie that is like the biggest kind of like trailer for what's to come, I think it's this. Like, I mean, like, it's like Captain America and Iron Man, great origin movies. We'll get to Captain America in a minute, but like, they stand on their own. This one is like, felt like the kind of obligatory, they had to make it in order to set up the Avengers, but as a movie, it doesn't stand on its own. So I think out of the Thor movie, off the top of my head, like, Ragnarok is the only one that's good. And even then, I don't think it's a particularly great Thor movie, if that makes sense, because it's a good action comedy, and Taika Waititi like brought his own lens and style to that. But even then, it's not super faithful to who the character is. It's just a good movie on its own. It's one of his films. Right. But like, out of the others, I think like it's that one, and then 3 very bad, 2 terrible movies. I'll get to my opinions on those later. But yeah, so this one just like, on a rewatch, it does not hold up. And again, I don't remember. I know I didn't like, oh my gosh, love it when it came out, but I thought it was fine probably back then. I was like, okay, some cool stuff on that. But it, particularly because of how the effects, and not just the effects, but the storytelling, everything else. This one is just like, it's there. It really doesn't, the stakes are never there. It's like, obviously he's going to pick up his hammer, but I never really felt that struggle for him to regain his honor. None of the villains were compelling. Because even Loki here, it's like, it's cool to see Tom Hiddleston in his first one, but I don't think they gave the script doesn't give him much to work with. No. The Frost Giants look terrible. They look like it's like a early version ripoff of the White Walkers in Game of, even though the White Walkers came later, they look awful. And then they throw in a metal robot for Thor to fight on Earth at the end. It's just, this one, I don't know. Yeah, I'm glad you and your dad particularly enjoyed it because it's your dad's favorite superhero.
I remember my dad being kind of disappointed, but so overall, he's like, I'm glad this movie exists.
That's fair. I understand that sentiment, because again, for like at this time especially, we're like, wow, they're making these movies. We thought for a long time they would only make Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, and this was a big point of like, even if not all of them are good, I get the sentiment of like, I'm glad it exists. So I just say, there are some cool ideas that they introduced, but they didn't really go with it. Again, the honor legacy, and him trying to prove to his father that he's worthy. There was stuff they set up, but I don't think they really expanded on. And and the whole like magic and science, intertwining, like that was cool. But again, they didn't really go anywhere with it. So it's a movie. But I definitely think this is, so far in my rewatch, this is easily the weakest entry.
Is this where Idris Elba blew up? Because I think so. Right?
So around that, he's introduced as Hemdell here. Yeah. He's not in it much here. No. He mainly is like guarding the bridge. But this was around that time. Because at that time, it's like, because when he's making the break to movies, like, he was in The Wire before that, and he started. But this was there where he started to really get big. I think that's the biggest gift this movie gives us is it kickstarted a lot of careers and elevated others. Yeah. So that was really cool. But but as a movie, I am. But so let's talk about something better. Because I do have very nice things to say about the next one.
Right on, let's do it.
So let's get on to Captain America: The First Avenger, also released in 2011. Directed by Joe Johnston. I also want to say that this is the first MCU movie written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, who, in their own right, are very key architects of the MCU, particularly of the Infinity Saga, because they wrote all three of the Captain America movies, and they wrote Infinity War and Endgame, and then McFeely is returning for Doomsday. Yep. So, so this is cool, but. I've been talking for a minute. So, Evan, do you want to say a little bit about this movie and your background with it?
Captain America: The First Avenger. I remember thinking I don't know if it was leaked or whatever, but the title was kind of cheesy. I'm like, really? They're gonna Avenger? It seemed too blunt and too okay, here we are planning something, but then I saw the concept art for his suit, and I was instantly excited for it. I'm like, that's how you do the suit, and not make it look cheesy, to not make it look like blue spandex and a weird helmet, because it was such a smart way to do the suit that it communicated a seriousness, but not a commitment to something that they weren't going to do. So I remember seeing those concept art being dropped and kind of skeptical that Chris was doing it again. I'm like, really? But and who the heck is the Red Skull? I didn't know much about Captain America, but I knew that he had a old 70s or 80s movie, and I remember his shield was cool, but I didn't know too much, and I think the film was pretty solid. And like what I said with the first one, or with Thor, they went all out. They got Hugo Weaving, they got
Tommy Lee Jones, yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones, yeah, and then they even got some good supporting characters, some good like a B-roll guys, and the storyline with him and Peggy Carter was great, and him with Bucky and the whole technology of it all, and the director, Joe Johnson. I remember thinking that I was so cool because I knew him when he was a part of Star Wars and stuff like that, and try to pull that card on people like, hey, did you know? So, yeah.
He was a student of Lucas, absolutely. Yeah.
So overall, I really love this movie. I came out of it going, I think whatever they are doing with these films, I think for the most part, it's in good hands. So.
No, absolutely. This is one always have a fond remembrance of, and it still very much holds up. So, looking back to in 2011 when I saw it, I was more familiar with Captain America's story. I'd seen him in cartoons, read some of the comics, and I think I had some of the figures and whatnot. So I was, kind of ready going in. I like the character a lot, and I did laugh too at the of like, oh wow, they had the guy from Fantastic Four playing him now, and but absolutely perfect casting. That was, I like Chris Evans just stepped right into this role as Steve Rogers. I also, a fun memory I have of this one is like, my dad and I saw this one when it came out, and he actually, I don't know if he still does work with this guy, but he worked with the guy, UPS, named Steve Rogers. Hey. So like, so he joked about that with him the week, after seeing it over the weekend with me, he's like, hey, it's Captain America, meeting there, and so that was fun. But right, yeah, exactly. So that was really cool. And but yeah, no, I really love this movie from the beginning, and it absolutely holds up. I love the pulpy World War II aesthetic of it. Yeah, I like how it's a movie that stands on its own, but it absolutely plants the seeds for the larger universe and sets up the Avengers really well. But it's not beholden to that. It very much is, much like the first Iron Man, it focuses on telling a good story and making you connect with Steve and make you connect with the rest of the cast.
To him in the first Iron Man. That was a fun tease. I remember that being a big deal. Yeah,
absolutely.
Seeing no, I mean they were very much like the whole wreckage there.
Yes, exactly. They were planting the seeds very early on, and seeing it all. This is where you get to see it really come to fruition, because, like, I guess I mean at this point it's like, with Thor, with Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, it's like, okay, they're building stuff, but this is where it's like really like, oh yeah, no, Avengers is definitely happening now. But again, you can still enjoy this movie on its own, and I really love comparing this one with the first Iron Man, because not only do you really have a clearly defined origin story, clearly defined character, but like the links between them, even though they are very different personalities, they come from totally different worlds. I love that their stories still mirror one another. So like, for instance, a big thing is like Erskine here, played by Stanley Tucci, the scientist who oversees the super soldier initiative. He's this kind of older mentor figure who believes in Steve and is part of his life for a very brief time, but has a profound impact on him. The same thing happens with Jensen in Iron Man. And so I love, that parallel there. Then obviously, Howard Stark is, a big part of this movie.
That was a cool connection.
Yes, and I love how they come back to it in Avengers, where when Tony first meets Steve, he's like, "That's the guy my dad never shut up about." I love that line. We'll get to that, but yeah, it's just like and like you said, I mean, Haley Atwell is fantastic as Peggy Carter. It's the introduction of Bucky, but what I was just saying about Thor in terms of it was all right at the time, but it really doesn't hold up today because there have been so many other movies that have been better. What I really love about this movie is it absolutely holds up today. I mean, I know people who are like, come on, that one's dumb. And I'm like, no, this is the MCU wouldn't work without movies like this. Yeah. It's this lays the foundation for everything that comes after that. It very much fits in time. And yes, I'm so glad you brought up Joe Johnston, because he came from the school of George Lucas. He worked on Star Wars, and he directed movies like Jumanji and October Sky, which were favorites of mine as a kid. Yeah.
I think that was our first
stuff.
Our first DVD back then.
Yeah. Oh, that was a favorite of ours growing up, and so I think he very much brings the sensibilities.
I mean, he created Boba Fett, so
yes, exactly. And I mean, it captures the World War II feel. I love the Howling Commandos. I love how they do Red Skull.
That's what they're called, yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes.
That was fun.
It's the best. Neil McDonough leading in, and Kenneth Choi in there. Great casting. And yes, Hugo Weaving, absolutely perfect casting as Red Skull. He just brings that kind of, you have to have a first-rate villain here to challenge, and it's one where it doesn't feel overly cheesy. This is a very sadistic character who is trying to surpass Hitler, and is obsessed with the occult. And that, all of the Indiana Jones influence is so apparent here.
Yes, it is.
I love it. It just because I know one of the big criticisms levied at the MCU, and I do agree with it, is that like a lot of times the style and the Marvel brand is there throughout, and it doesn't allow as much for creativity with like directors' visions. But I think this is an example where Joe Johnston really lets his unique lens and aesthetic shine here, and all the, like I said, Indiana Jones, Jumanji, all of those influences are very apparent, and as are classic World War II movies. So it just, it flows. It's a great, it's obviously a great underdog story. And I tell you, this is the one I saw with my dad, and like, I think if my dad were to see an MCU movie today, he'd be like, what is going on? I'm like, yeah, you kind of have to watch 30 other movies. But like, this is a great example of one where like, you can watch this one on its own, perfectly enjoy it. And like you said, you got Tommy Lee Jones and a lot of other great actors in here, to really, appeal to, yes, bring some weight and like appeal to mainstream audiences, and it just tells a good story. There's not really any point where it really lags. There are some great fight sequences, and again, it establishes everything about Steve's character and lays the foundation for him and Bucky, and it only gets better from that point on.
The special effects on his
yes,
they were huge back then. I remember seeing like the breakdowns on how they did a small version of Chris Evans, and I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah. It's they were really, and like, and like, it's like with Thor, it's like, I think the special effects there are really weak, but this one came out in the same year, and it's like night and day. It's like, it's just, they really put and I, when you were done bringing up the title, I agree. Like when they first said, I'm like, come on, they really need the First Avenger in that. But then when you watch the movie, it fits so well because it fits in with that pulpy aesthetic, and it's both an origin for Steve and also setting up the Avengers, but it's not too overstuffed or anything.
When I was making these slides, I wasn't sure to put the colon or not because they didn't have it, and usually that means it's just all one title. So but. That's the thing, so I really love this movie. I think it has a lot to say about heroism, and it introduces a very, like, golden Boy Scout type character without it being, like, so unrealistic, it's like, having, like, it's like, everyone had fallen in love with the first Iron Man movie, and he's this, like, very cocky, arrogant, egotistical, protagonist, and here you have the direct opposite, but at the same time, it's like, he still has his own insecurities. I still love how, like, Peggy, chastises him for not knowing how to talk to a woman, and like their dynamic and the chemistry there is flawless, but no, he's a really like grounded character. He's just a guy who wants to do what's right, and he wants to stand up to bullies, and Chris Evans just fully embraced that and gave it his all in this role. The only thing that I don't like about it is that I never got into a Peggy's show, Agent Carter. I just never got around to watching it, and I heard so many good things about it.
And I unfortunately have not gotten to it either, but like that's on my list this year as I'm gonna trying to like fill in some of my gaps, because there's so much MCU stuff out there.
I was trying to remember, did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was already out already, right?
No, it came after the first Avengers.
Oh, okay.
Because remember, like Coulson dies in Avengers, and then they show the trailer of Avengers. Yeah. So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think was like
whatever. Yeah.
Because the Avengers was summer of 2012. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was like fall of 2013, something like that. Okay. Yeah. Yep. And I think Agent Carter was a little bit after that, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere on that round. But yeah. I have very nice things about it. I love this movie. And now let's get on to the big one. The big let's eat shawarma together.
Shawarma, nice.
I love how you put on the slide here for those not watching on YouTube. Evan's done the slides for these, and like for each one he put like director and cast, and for this one for the Avengers he just said cast everybody.
Literally everybody's in it.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Evan, when this one came out, okay, so it was May of 2012.
May
how
4th.
old were you? It was Star Wars Day. Yeah.
Yeah. What's up?
How old were you when it came out? Because I was a senior in high school, so I have my I want to share where I was then. But do you remember where you were in life?
25 or 26. I remember.
Okay, cool.
I remember vividly. We were moving out of our first apartment that me and my wife had together. We were moving to a different part of town when this movie came out, on that day. And her parents were they were helping us move. And I remember when we finally finished, we finally got up everything to the new place, and we were all just like, ah. And then I brought it up, hey guys, you want to go watch a movie? Because I wanted to watch it so bad because it was so hyped up, man. I was in the scene, I couldn't wait for this movie, and I was just like, I want to go watch it. You guys want to go watch it? And they were like, yeah, sure, let's go. I was like, yes, thank God. And I remember my in-laws, they knew about the characters, but they didn't watch any of the previous movies, but they loved this film. They loved it.
Yeah.
They thought it was great, and just the comedy, the stakes were big, and aliens, and I remember just the hype around this movie. I will never forget. One of my favorite podcasts around that time was called Battleship Retention, and my buddy Tyler Smith was on it, and he was saying that he felt like we were living in cinema history, and that we've never seen something like this before. That we've seen it in the comics, how we had the whole build up, and they had crossovers and team up comics, but we had never really seen it in film, and we've never seen it done so good. And I just remember that always stuck with me, and saying that, we lived in, we can tell our kids later that we lived through a culmination of the Avengers. So, and that's a pretty big deal, I think.
I love how you say it like that, because it's the movie Troy, at the end of it, it was let us say that we lived in the time of Achilles and Hector. But it literally is. It's because this is a modern mythology. It's for us, it's let us let our children know that we lived in the time of Tony Stark and Steve Rogers on screen. But no, And for me, it was a similar thing of so I vividly remember, I was just about to graduate from high school. I had about a month left, I think, and so we're already, pretty checked out. We're just kind of cruising through. And I could not wait to go see, big time senioritis, but we were enjoying it too, having, and so, I couldn't wait, that Friday, go see this after school. And it absolutely blew my mind. I think I saw it at least 3 or 4 times, and this was the same summer as this was the same summer as Dark Knight Rises, and it was just all the like you said, it was just okay, we had seen comic book movies at this point, I'd been there for Dark Knight and all this stuff, but this was just a whole nother level of regardless of whether it's the best or not, but it just the culmination of everything, seeing all these characters on screen at once, and it actually came together, and they delivered, yes, because this could have easily fallen apart. It's there's easily another universe where it's okay, we got an Avengers movie, but it was terrible. No, it was it hit all the beats. All the characters got, a storyline here. They naturally came together. Mm-hmm. Like you said, the stakes were high. I think there was an element of even though obviously they're going to save the world, but is everyone going to make it out by the end? What's going to happen? What is it?
I was really skeptical about Loki being the bad guy.
I
was waiting for that to not work, but it worked.
Because, like we were talking about earlier, like, I mean, the way he's written in the first Thor movie is not great. I mean, like, you know, like, great performance, but, like, it's a side character, and it's like, you know, is he really the one who can challenge the Avengers? And it's like, yes, that was what they did in the comics in the first iteration, but still, it's like, you know, is he the one they should get? And there were earlier drafts where actually Red Skull was the main villain. They were going to bring him back.
Really?
And so, yeah. So there's a million directions they could have gone with, but no, it works. The humor is great. I know Joss Whedon is a very problematic figure, and that's why I hesitate to like
back then,
but back then, like we did, or at least we didn't know.
Huge.
Yes, I mean. Yeah, and that was the thing too. Is like, yes, he had done movies before. He had done Serenity, but he came mainly from a TV background, and I did. You know, rewatching this too. It is interesting because the way the story is structured, it's so him, and it also is in many ways it feels structured like a season of TV, but it still works as a movie. And it's because I mean, even you could break it up in episodes. It's like the first episode you could have the intro with, you know, Loki's attack and on Shield, and then starting, and then, you know, the first hour being them kind of assembling, and then the second being them kind of working together, and so on and so forth. But like, but it still works as a movie, and I mean, it has all the blockbuster spectacle. It's just, this is clearly, it's a script and a direction that very much understands these characters. It, you know, like it puts them together in natural scenarios. I mean, the first time Iron Man, Thor, and Cap a fight in the woods there is just, you know, I even watched a Screen Crush video recently about saying that is like one of the most important scenes in the MCU
100%.
because like because I mean everything else that comes after that doesn't work without that dynamic there. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it keeps you engaged. It was one of the best theatrical experiences I had in my life up until that point. And still I look back fondly on. Yeah.
I still don't like a Captain America suit in this. It's so tacky. Okay. It's like
it's a little over the top. Yeah.
I still.
I agree. It got better as it went along.
Hulk was fantastic in this. Hulk was.
Yes.
I was waiting for them to do something with the Hulk, and and like I knew why they couldn't do his own film, so I was excited, and they just blended it so smoothly into this plot.
And that was the thing, like, when doing this series, and I said earlier that, like, I actually, like, enjoyed Incredible Hulk more on a rewatch than I thought I might, but, you know, it still has its issues, of course, but, like, but I still appreciate it, but this one is, like, you know, I mean, no disrespect to Edward Norton, but it was just, like, when, you know, once he kind of fell out, and they brought Mark Ruffalo in, Mark Ruffalo just went, I mean, for him, like, this being his first time as Banner and Hulk, he absolutely nailed it, and I love how. And that's something that it could have been, you know, he could have barely made appearances and just kind of been in the background. But I love what the script does with making him very integral to the story. And, you know, he steps right into the shoes of that character. You see his hesitancy to even be a part of this because he's just finally been getting the Hulk under control and he doesn't want to risk anything. And, you know, and he's like very level headed, but still the tensions are high. They're all butting heads with each other. And it's like, yes, you know, that it's going to, Loki is relying on that. And right. And very much all of that lays the groundwork for Civil War later on. But still here you see all the banter, you see that this group of unlikely players puts together, and then it's just like I mentioned the line, you know, that oh my gosh, why that's the thing watching it now is like I can't watch this without thinking of all the memes. Yes. Oh my gosh, it's just like back then I don't think we meme culture wasn't what it is today. And so now watching even the scene when Tony's in the background and does the eye glare roll. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a meme. There's a meme. And that man is playing Galaga, all those things.
That little thing.
That was here. Yes.
And the whole Tony Stark trying to close one eye to see how he drove the ship or whatever. Was it Tony Stark? Yes, it was. Yeah. Yep.
And when Tony and Steve glare at each other, and those are the that's been memed 1,000 times.
Yes.
It's just so good.
I got that reference. That I understood that reference. Was that from this one, or was that?
Yes,
from... Okay,
yes,
okay.
That was in this one.
Okay.
When Steve says like, I understood that reference. Yes, because he's been clueless to so many.
I remember
the whole time.
my father-in-law. He loved how Captain America was treated.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when he said his line. He goes, "Man, there's only one God, and he doesn't dress like that." And he claps. He's like, "Yeah."
It's just so line. Like. They're so unabashedly themselves in this movie. There's no trying to like sugarcoat anything. They all shine. Yeah,
Hawkeye
it just lifted straight from the pages of the comics. Hawkeye, that's another one. It's like he was only in one scene in Thor, and that was how he was introduced. And again, this movie is such a juggling act and it's amazing it came to and Fury has only had cameos at this point. Well, he has a little bigger role in Iron Man 2, but still, like mostly cameo. And like they make him very integral to the story. They make Black Widow very integral to the story.
This was the first time. Sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
This was the first time I think, for whatever reason, I found out that it was Kevin Feige behind all this,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so he's been the one kind of behind all this. Wow. And then I didn't know his history with the company and stuff like that. So
Right.
So,
and this just shows I mean, yes, he was the main architect, and then you had all these other creators, people forget that they did not have this massive plan from the beginning. Like they were still kind of drawing it up as they went along.
Contrary to popular belief now. It's like, kids, you have no idea. Like, come on.
They did not have the Infinity Saga mapped out for years and years, but still they made it all work here, and it came out beautiful.
What was the next movie after this?
So there was a break, and then it was Iron Man 3.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. So, because at this point, this was the only movie in 2012. Iron Man 3 was not until fall of 2013. So this was a time when, there was, it was not like they were putting out a movie, every few months like they do now. Of course, now it's slowed down a little bit, but, and there was that build-up in the anticipation. But yeah, there was a big gap between this and then
they just kind of rolled the dice with Thanos at the end of this one, because I remember hearing they didn't know kind of where they wanted to go, but and it's like they had Infinity Stones planned, but absolutely they did not have this big end game plan yet. But they dropped that, and I still remember that reaction of everyone's like, oh my gosh, they're banning Thanos, that was so cool. I didn't know who Thanos was.
Right.
I thought it was I forgot who that was, but some sort of meme or something. But
but there's just so much of this movie that still holds up. Yes, there are better MCU movies, I think, now. But in terms of just the magnitude of what this was and what it meant when it came out, we just never thought, wow, they would do an Avengers movie like this or a Justice League or anything like that.
And they were so creative in the battle of New York.
Yes.
The whole thing with, Iron Man kind of bouncing it off of Cap's shield and stuff like that.
Yes.
And the Hulk and the way he was kind of struggling through the battle, and it kind of makes me think of the final battle of Return of the Jedi, that there were so many moving pieces going on, and they just kind of cutted it. They just kind of put it together so well. Yep.
Oh, and Black Widow bouncing off Cap's shield and jumping onto a Chitauri cruiser, all that, there's just so, and of course, the iconic tracking shot, you'll never forget the first time you saw that with the Alan Silvestri score pulsating in your ears. It was just awesome. Yeah.
Oh, and the whole, this is where the Hulk and Thor kind of had their,
they do have the little buddy cop romance brewing. Yeah. Oh, and when the fun. I still remember the laughter that ensued when Hulk smashes Loki to pieces after he insults him. He's like,
so funny,
puny god.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's hilarious. First thing I thought they were going to go through the floor. It's like,
Right,
how's that Thor gonna
right.
hold him? But I was like, oh,
I know,
okay,
right? Yeah. But there's just so much about this one that, like, yeah, it still holds
and
up.
how
It's just
the
like,
Battle of New York was such a pivotal plot for the whole rest of the for like probably a good 10 movies after that. It's like,
yeah, absolutely.
it was a part of the whole storyline.
And even in the Netflix
Yep.
Marvel shows, they have they have the Ben Urich has the newspaper with the headline he wrote. All of that. So this was just a gargantuan. It's like I think if like you have new MCU fans coming to like younger generations watching these now, like it's like, hey, there was a time where like this was just a huge deal for
massive
all these characters to come together. And there's never going to be something quite like it,
Just not for the nerds, too. It was
right,
huge.
Right.
Like my
everyone was talking about
dad
it.
And
Yep.
My dad told me stories that they were talking about it at work and stuff. Like, it's wild. It was wild.
It was just this pop culture juggernaut that you had to be a part of, and and I think now it's like the MCU is kind of we'll see. I'm really curious what will happen with Doomsday. Is it's going to have that effect, but. At that time, it was like, you couldn't go to work or school if you hadn't seen the latest movie. You had to, be in tune with the conversation.
I remember this was where Dark Knight Rises, was it, you said?
Yes, it was about 2 months later. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember going, because I remember I wanted to see this Avengers more times than I saw Batman because I didn't like how Batman finished.
Right. That's fair.
I was kind of like trying to stick it to the man.
No, that's fair. I mean, I could do a whole episode on
saw this
Dark Knight
probably
Trilogy,
3 or 4 times, and I think I saw Dark Knight Rises maybe just twice or something like that.
Yeah. And Amazing Spider-Man was that year as well. So it was.
Was it really?
I swear. Yeah.
I don't think I saw it then, though. I don't think I did.
Yeah.
Oh, possibly did.
So it was quite the year.
Cool, man. Cool.
But yeah.
Fun times.
Well, that's the Avengers. And Evan, before we go, so if you had to rank all 3 of these movies, I in mind, but where would you put in terms of top? Or if you, I don't know if you want to do maybe number 3, number 2, number 1.
Number 3, Thor, 2, Captain, and 1, Avengers.
Yeah.
I think if you don't have that, you are wrong.
No, we have the same ranking for this one. It was really fascinating doing the last episode. If you watch it, the Iron Man 2 and Hulk one, Christian and I had very different answers there. True. But the Fox X-Men trilogy and this one, it's very unanimous. But and even that, the only thing I was like, I actually do put Avengers and First Cap pretty close together. I think Avengers gets a point above just for being the juggernaut that it was and like bringing them all together. But I really do love the
And
First
for
Cap
me
movie.
though, I really like Thor. So. So a Thor is just under Captain America for me.
That's fair. Yeah. So awesome. Well, this is I'm loving this series. It's an absolute blast to go through all these. So, and if you're listening, watching out there, share your thoughts with us. We want to hear what your rankings would be, any insights that you have that we missed, and I'm really enjoying watching all these. And any Easter eggs you find that may lead to clues about Doomsday. I'm geeking out on all of that. So thank you all for being with us. This was so much fun. And remember, we are all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests. Avengers assemble. Go eat shawarma.
Hey friends, it's your pal Will Rose here, and let me break the fourth wall a moment and look directly at you through the camera or speak directly to you in your earbuds. Yep, I'm talking to you, Susie. You too, Chad. You can now support Systematic Geekology on Fourth Wall. That's a website. You'll find all of our episodes, incredible merch like shirts and hoodies and mugs. Chad, I would love to see you in one of those shirts out in the wild. You get bonus episodes. We answer bonus questions. We have special shout outs. We have certain episodes that you pick. So you help us create and curate the content that we put out for the world to hear. You even get free merch. And you can support the show at different levels. You could join at the free level. Yep, we love free members, free support. Join it. Or you could become a sidekick for as little as $5 a month. You could join the elves and dwarves for $10 a month. You could become a wizard for $15 a month. Or you could go to divinity school and become a cleric for $20 a month. And that's way cheaper than going to seminary, believe me. Or at $25 a month, you could become a superhero. And let me just say, we love all of our listeners, whether you support us at the free level or the superhero level. We love you. We love geeking out with you. Like, support, share the show. Love you.
Hello, friends. This is Andy Walsh. Thanks for listening. If you're going to be a systematic geek about this podcast, you need to know that it's part of the Anato Podcast Network. Other shows in the network include the Whole Church Podcast, where Joshua Knoll and TJ Blackwell have spent over 7 years now in pursuit of church unity through education and conversations with leaders across divisions. 7 years, that's a podcast that has lost some baby teeth. My seminary life with Brandon Knight, where he began discussing what he learned as a seminary student and is now learning with the listeners in a continuing lifelong education. The Bible After Hours with the Foul-Mouthed Preacher, where he critically examines the modern church through satire, then provides a more progressive reading of Scripture. And the Homily with Pastor Chill Will from Chapel Hill, where Will Rose's homilies are periodically updated and made available through the podcast, always reminding us that we are loved with a love deeper than words. Thanks again for listening, and remember, if you're going to geek, do it systematically.